Hi, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone from wherever you have joined today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate that. We've been having these webinars on a regular basis with some new topics that are of interest to most of the IT folks. Especially involved in releasing products and software. Uh, so that being said, the topic of the day today is speeding up your testing or automation and how we can achieve that. And obviously, I'm here from Sailotech. This is Krishna Chekuri, and I'll be talking about how what my thoughts are, how we can better release a software quickly and without any issues or with minimizing the issues. Okay, so basically, automation and automated testing. Obviously, before automation, most of it used to be manual. I mean, in many companies, still there's a lot of manual testing happens. Of course, manual testings cannot be completely eliminated. I would say 100% automation is realistically not possible with my experience. With my experience, I have it's very in rare cases where you have a system where 100% everything is automated. Why? Because there are some scenarios, some pieces of code or components that has to be manually verified, validated. Okay, but basically automation. But once we have automation in place, it has, as you all know, it has transformed. The modern software development. It has accelerated the software development and release cycles, acceleration, speed to market, because automation is one of the core enabler, yeah, so to speak, for making that possible, for making that happen. Because uh, uh, developing an application, a software is one thing, and being able to test it and release it is another thing, right? So I mean, they both go hand in hand. But how fast you can do that, even if you have like a very fast development, the testing can slow it down, right? Because that's why a lot of people with traditional mindset have have the thinking like QA is the bottleneck, or it's a slowing down our delivery or release cycle. Okay, so the speed of delivery, obviously, everyone in the development, as in the area of business where you go through the SDLC, everyone is a standard, constant pressure to release new features and all that, or bug fixes. But at what cost, right? So speed to delivery with automation is good, but we have to ensure that we are releasing not a buggy application, or with lot of bugs. That has to be taken into consideration. So speed and time to market is definitely great thing and must have in this present time, but it should not cut corners on the testing, right? So so basically, automation testing, it would definitely speed up your regression significantly. And at the end of the day, you get your features out faster. And and basically, you'll be able to test complex scenarios. Automation testing will help that. Basically, you are automating once, and then you are testing again and again, and it is available 24 by 7, because the scale of testing can be exponentially increased. Because if you have like 10, 20 people who are manually testing, you don't really need to have that many people working, and then, or you cannot have really realistically important, tough to handle the team of that big size, and then having them, you have a different set timing, right, of 8 hours that you can have your team, unless until you have teams across the world who does 24/7, so which is going to be a very costly affair. So that being said, that testing, automation testing is definitely is a big enabler to speed up, and how to speed up using automation, and not just having automation, but also how to use effectively, efficiently the automation to speed up your release cycles, and deliver more reliable and complex applications, uh, without major roadblocks. Your automation testing, you can have 24/7, and all that quality can be improved accordingly, right? So that being said, the some of the or few things that I would say, there are lot of factors how you can increase, speed up your automation, but the one of the core thing is CI/CD, continuous integration, delivery, and deployment, right? So DevOps world, everyone knows what I'm talking about, whether but most of the times, people instead of having a CI in place, they're actually slowing down the integrations and the deployment by having not proper pipeline setup and stuff like that. So that being said, the few things that I would like to mention here is how we can achieve that using like a parallel execution, right? So when I say 24/7 execution, and obviously when you are doing the manual execution, it is using, even with automation, most of the tests are written in a sequential manner, right? So all the execution happens in a sequence of say you have a project with five different modules, and then each module will have, say, 20 scripts, and each script will have, like, say, 20 test cases, right? Just an example. And then when you start the execution, if it is sequential, obviously it is going to add time for the execution. So obviously parallel execution is one of the ways to reduce or cut the execution time in many in basically it's one of the most effective strategy to speed up tests. And then and obviously how you can do that, when I say parallel execution, browser stack or sauce labs, or you have a Selenium grade, basically which will run on browser stack or sauce lab, or other means. So there are multiple ways of achieving that. Then you have a headless browser. So what the headless browser is, it's nothing but basically a browser that doesn't have a GUI, right? A user interface that can be seen, because when automation is supposed to be in the background, is the execution, no one is looking at it while execution is happening, right? No one need to look at it as long as you have the evidence of the execution. Basically, you have pass or failure and point of failure, screenshots, video, so on and so forth. That evidence is presented headless. You don't need to see the browser. So when I say headless browser, the most of that is executed in the background. So the time that's taken to execute with with the regular browser and headless browser varies. So you can reduce the time there for execution time there. Then removing sleeps. So it's a very, very what you call a common practice to have wait time, sleep time. So you know the waste of basically wasting of time, and basically, in other words, it's a flaky or shaky test, I would say, because uh, when when execution is happening and you're waiting a long time for a certain object to be displayed, or certain, so which is more than required, or hard coded, then obviously that is an issue. So we need to definitely look to remove all the wait times, and if the test is critical, then there are methods of polling more frequently, so that test can restart sooner than basically move on to the next step. And that's a fluid wait time and all that. So making sure it is only waiting for an element a certain time, and then it will time out. So, and then obviously there's some issue. We need to take a look at maybe the performance issue of the application in the first place, and not another. So there's tuning involved and all that stuff. Then minimizing the database calls, right? So one of the things that you can do is to make sure the database calls are eliminated, so that there's less time used to have that call, and then instead you can have a preset data that can be fed through, so data driven, and which can be fed through beforehand. So data creation part, so that can reduce the time taken with these calls and all that in the background. So that's one of the ways of doing that. And then um, when obviously scheduling the tests through the night, or over the weekend as well, to reduce the of course there's always the case where you have to execute uh, as needed or ad hoc basis. So you'll figure it out, or basically based on the situation scenario that you are presented with, right? And then uh, the most the important thing here, for everything to be working better, is to have a faster feedback loops. And when I say feedback loop, is the availability of the execution results, and the quickly that all the teams who are involved in, be it developer, BAs, or even if there's a UAT happening, and you need to have some clarification with the user scenario on something. So that feedback loop having going should be very tight and very quick, so that there's less time wasted to, or minimized. The time wastage is minimized, right? So, so these are a few, and of course, for everything, you have the fail fast. You have to test everything, or test everything that is really required, prioritized, first in the first place, and test every time, every build, early on. And its testing is always should be continuous, and it should it starts from the requirements gathering itself, right? So testing is not when shouldn't be done only when you see the application login. So there's a lot of ways to do the testing. Even the requirements can be tested as well. So and obviously the whole point here is we are prevention than detection, right? So we want to prevent the bug into production, right? Leaking into production. So, yeah. Moving ahead, so how it's done again, CSED, basically test ensure what we have, any software framework development, DevOps that you need to have a CSED pipeline set up properly, where you can achieve all this, the fruits of it, right? So by doing that, obviously, it's a backbone of the modern DevOps environment, right? It's So we at Sailotech, we have embraced the CI/CD process. So we do it for code integration multiple times a day, every day, as needed. Basically, by integrating so frequently, the team can surface errors earlier than waiting, and amount of the backtracking needed to find the cause is also much reduced, and therefore that the team can resolve the integration errors much faster. So some key things that we do basically as a process is checking code frequently, so that the small changes can be, if something is breaking because of the change, it can be encountered, or it can be troubleshooted and isolated very quickly, or automate the build, for build that, and always test the code locally before checking it in. We don't want to break everything and other people's code as well, unless because you haven't tested the code, as an individual contributor, as a developer, right? And never merge any failed branches to the main branch. So these are the kind of rules that are ground rules that we need to follow. Return the status back, to successful only, when it is successful, right? And that's top priority to do when failure happens, right? Then the continuous deployment, of course, is performing the deployment manually for each release. You can have a is executed automatically as well, right? And then delivery is about basically ensuring that every good build is ready for production, basically, or moving it from lower environment to the higher environments, right? So uh, uh, and then with the test ensure, basically, what these are, we have integrated all of it in the test ensure ecosphere platform to make these things happen more seamlessly, right? So that being said, just move on to what test ensure I was talking about. I mentioned it is a basically test automation execution platform, right? It's one stop shop for automation execution, for giving you the what you call that, execution, easy execution, smart execution, as well as transparency. And before I go there, the one of the points that I wanted to mention is, what kind of, we have so many tools out there, so many frameworks out there. What is the best automation tool, right? So a lot of people still, look around and see what companies, which tool can be adopted, right? And obviously, to reduce the cost, the commercial tool licensing, infrastructure cost, we can use open source. That's where we have went into open source and built a platform using obviously Selenium, and Jenkins, and APM frameworks, and created our own hybrid framework, right? So that's how, with all the learnings over the period of almost 20 years or more in this SDLC, following in releasing, developing products and software, and with that knowledge, and having worked with commercial license tools, as well as other tools, and where the gaps are. So we kind of came up with this platform and developed with all that pain points, some of the pain points that has been addressed with Test Ensure. So Test Ensure is an application or a platform where it's a role-based access. It can be on-prem or a cloud offering. Basically, every client who subscribes to Test Ensure will get the setup, and then can will have a role-based access to it, being a test automation engineer or a BA or a product developer, product owner or a developer, or even dashboards view of where things are for transparency for the management and stakeholders. So all that is basically available on Test Ensure, right? Well, so that is very high level. So what it has to offer is obviously requirements management. It's a low code test where you have and then you have like a modular reusable test scripts, which is very much modularized, so that the maintenance of test cases is very is relatively easy to maintain when there is a change coming in the pipeline, be it with a bug fix or with a with a change feature enhancement, right? And then scalable parallel execution. Again, I talked about that. Again, the dashboards and traceability is very, very important, because one thing is having the metrics, and then having the right metrics is also very important, right? So like for example, you have say number of tests failed, right? You have 100 tests, and out of 100 you have like 80 passed and 20 failed. So you say percentage complete is 80% complete, right? So that number is to me it is not, it can be misleading, because we need to have certain metrics associated with the level of priority severity of those failures as well, right? If it's a minor 20 minor, and then of course in those 20 minor, in those 20 there's a 15 minor and 5, then actually in reality it's it's a 90, I mean basically 90 to 95% success, only 10% or less is the actual or bigger failures because of the severity of it. So that kind of analytics is possible with Test Ensure, where you have the predictability of it. You have what is the weakest point in or module in the application, where there are a more number of bugs identified in certain module or certain functionality, right? So and then user role-based access, I already mentioned that. Then tagging and grouping feature and the rerun feature. So this is a very, very, very important feature, or a core feature, I would say, that helps whole lot in speeding up your delivery. When I say tagging, each test case we have a tag or identifier. Basically, you have a test case tagged as say chargeback. You have a test case as charged as a login, or you have test case as a some with some feature set with the core functionality of the that particular scenario, or the test case will be identified with the tag. And then all these test cases can be grouped into a set or bucket. So why I'm saying, or a component bucket, right, or a functionality bucket. So what happens is, when you have a release upcoming based on some bug fix in certain module, so you can just execute just the test cases associated with the tags, and are grouped by that module or something like that. So you have that flexibility of execute. So for example, we have worked with one of the clients, payment gateway company, having like 8,000. When we started, it was 200 test cases, and then when we have gone through our automation, the regression suite was about 8,000 test cases. So you can imagine how much time it would take, even with parallel execution, and to execute 8,000 test cases, right? And there's a urgent release that has to be going like in a day. Obviously, it's highly impossible to execute all the 8,000. So that's where tagging and grouping came into picture, where it helped us to isolate and only execute the core test cases that are really being affected, right? So that is more like a surgical strike kind of a scenario here, where you take care of all that by utilizing the tagging and grouping feature. So instead of the 8,000, we were only executing 250 or at the max 500 test cases, and boom, it's ready for release. And then obviously, prioritizing all that, what is the core functionality, identifying that, all that also go into this mix. So that no major functionality or a core or a critical functionality of the application is broken in production. So at the end of the day, that is what we want, right? So these are a few things. There's a lot more to talk about. It's a never-ending, topics of test automation. So it never runs out. That being said, I would like to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity, and for attending this webinar. And we will definitely do many more of these. And if you have any questions on this specific topic, and how we can even schedule a demo of Test Ensure, and give a live demo of how things work, and how we can increase the ROI, and do the value add to your company, please reach out and let us know. Thank you so much, and have a great day.